Hey, visionaries! You are now tuned in to the Starts with a Vision podcast, where everything you do in life starts with a vision. If your vision is clear or foggy, you are in the right place. It's time to go take what's yours, because there's a vision only you can see, and a dream only you can dream. And now, your host, Mr. Starts with a Vision.
What's going on, guys? This is Isaiah Fowler, aka Mr. Starts with a Vision, and today's guest is fire, man. Fire. And I'm excited to have her on the line on the show today. Today's guest is Kishshana Palmer, and what she does is she works with a lot of nonprofits and helps them increase their revenue, increase their money, different partnerships and stuff like that. So she is going to grace this stage, grace this podcast, and she's going to give you so much information and so much knowledge. So with that being said, I'm not going to waste your time. Kishshana Palmer is today's guest. What's going on, world? It is Isaiah Fowler, aka Mr. SWAV, Mr. Starts with a Vision, and I'm going to say thank you so much for tuning in. And we have somebody in the building today. She is a social good matchmaker. That is a title that she's given herself based upon the things that she's been doing for other people. And she's very interesting, intriguing with what she's doing. And today is Kishshana Palmer, and that is with 2 SHs.
You'll never forget me.
Never forget you, because I never forget how I almost messed up your name at first, but I had to look at it and then I had to respell it. So Kishshana, how are you doing today?
I am doing so well today. How are you?
All is well over here. Besides what we were talking about earlier, sometimes I wish I could take 2 naps or I could go to sleep for a month straight.
A month in a hammock.
Right. But that's of course not going to happen. So, besides that, all is well over here.
Awesome.
Yeah. So what does a social good matchmaker mean? Because I know you do a few things and or a lot of things, and
yes. So many hats, the Jamaican in me.
Yeah. You a hustler.
I'm the hustler. So basically, a social good matchmaker, the way I have described it is I help nonprofit organizations partner with entrepreneurs and companies who are looking to do some social good in the world. And I also help entrepreneurs who want to do some good and they don't know the first thing about really where to start, how to do that and how to figure out like where to plug in, what types of organizations they should be working with, if they should have something that's in their own business model. And so I help those 2 separate groups really figure out how to work together. Mm. And somehow in the middle, I end up doing a lot of consulting and coaching, training, and speaking. So it has landed me all over the place into some really interesting conversations with some really amazing professionals across the globe.
And you said somewhere in the middle, you do some coaching and consulting. Like it's not coaching and consulting before that. Like you provide a service. Is it a done for you service? Do you do everything for that person, or don't you consult with them anyways?
I do. And so you can do a couple of things when you work with me. If you're a do-it-yourselfer, and, admittedly, I thought I was in a past life, but I'm not. You can do my course 501c Profit, which is basically how I walk you through how to create your own nonprofit organization or social good practice if you are a business who wants to add that on. And so that's a really great way for you to jump into that space if you have decided and you are determined to create your own charity and you don't want anybody's help. Mm-hmm. But mostly I help my clients figure that out. And so for many of them, it's if they're a for-profit business and they want to have a social enterprise, if they want to be a B Corp, if they want to start their own separate 501c3 organization, or if they just want to figure out like who the hell in the community should I really be working with and what are they going to do with my money? And I work with them one-on-one to align an organization's mission with their corporate values. And on the other side of that, I work with nonprofit organizations to position themselves to be attractive for those companies. And while I'm there, most of the time, to your point about what I do when I'm there in the middle, I do team retreats. I do team coaching and training for high-performing teams or teams who need to be high-performing, particularly around sales, transformational sales, fundraising, anything to do with money and people. And then I do some one-on-one work as well. So that is sort of how that work kind of matches up in the middle.
Got you. Just a whole bunch of opportunities. So you really are, I guess with you, it just seems like everything is about positioning. So you've been able to position yourself around certain type of people, and just a whole bunch of other opportunities, come to fruition.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing that I think is a gift and a curse sometimes in my life is that, when people come to talk to me, often it's about one thing. Like the number of times folks are like, hey, I want to talk to you about doing a fundraiser, an event, for example. And I'm like, sure, okay, what's your budget? Let's get on the phone and talk about it. Great. We get on the phone and they start explaining to me the dynamics of what's happening and why they actually want to do this thing. And for the most part, I will reveal, actually pause. Before we even touch that event, what really needs to happen is we need to focus on these three things that you just said to me that are glaring, blinking, flashing lights. Mm-hmm. So if you skip them and you get all the way down to this event you want to do, sure, you're going to raise some money, but you are going to hate life because you would have ignored these three blinking lights that I just told you about that are going to prevent you from raising money again. And so that's how I often find my way into conversations. People come to me because they want to raise more money, because I am a recovering fundraiser. I've raised money for over 15 years for national nonprofit organizations. And then they leave me like, oh, we actually have to do these other three things with our board, with our staff, with our team before we even get to the money part.
That makes perfect sense. And I have a little bit more clarity now on everything. And you said something earlier. You said, you work with people on how to position themselves, how nonprofit can position themselves. So how does a nonprofit position themselves to work with people who are bigger, with the bigger bags and the bigger checks that they can stroke?
Yep. And so I would say that the first thing is that not about positioning yourself with the bigger bags. Mm-hmm. It's about clarity of purpose and clarity of vision. I think more than anything, what I see with organizations who I talk to is that they are not clear about why they do what they do. I'm just passionate about my cause. So what? Mm-hmm. So when you're thinking about how to align yourself with companies that have assets that they want to share, and that asset could be people, that could be in kind, that are revenue offsets for your organization, that could be cash money in the bank to help you run your organization. Everybody's running after the big dogs. There's lots of medium-sized dogs whose bark and whose bite is just as vicious, right? Mm-hmm. And there's small lap dogs too that if you can get a couple of those, they will continue to stay with you and stay loyal over time. And so what organizations need to focus on is, what is your actual strategy around how you are going to sustain yourself and grow over time? And then what are the clearest avenues to be able to do that every year? Because you have to do it over and over again. So we always jump to the end, right? We jump to how do we get the Crafts of the world? How do we get the GMs? How do we get the State Farm? How do we get the Essence? How do we get the this and the that to be our corporate sponsor? Pause. How do you get the medium-sized company who has 50 employees in your backyard to know you exist?
Before you even try to go and do that.
Exactly, because those 50 employees, guess what? They live where you live. They work where you work. They are with your organization in community. And if you get that smaller company lined up, that's a domino that in your community, you can have companies like them who are consistently engaging with you from the financial end of resources and also from the talent end of resources. Before you even get to thinking about the bigger marketing activation, bigger corporate entities. And let me just give you a tidbit real quick. Corporate giving is only 7% of all philanthropic dollars. Dead people, by way of wills and trusts, give more money to nonprofit organizations. So it doesn't make sense to really chase corporate dollars if it does not make sense for your strategy. So do you even have a strategy? Or do you just have a bunch of tactics you strung together?
Right. So what's the difference between tactics and strategies?
Woo! So tactics for me are about the activities. Like, how are we going to get to the thing? Like, what are going to be the like drill down, brass tacks, boots on ground ways that we are going to accomplish what we have set out to do? Strategy is about, we are going to do this, whatever this is, this particular way. So let me see if I can make it tangible. So if my overall fundraising strategy, for example, is to attract individuals who have the ability to give 5- and 6-figure gifts to my organization as the largest percentage of my giving pie, that's my overall strategy. Focus on individuals. Boom. That's down to the simplest point. My tactics are going to be small cultivation events to bring individuals to the table to be able to learn more about the organization. My tactic is going to be attracting board members who are local in the community, who have the sphere of influence and the networks necessary to open the door to more individuals who have the potential capacity to give at that 5 or 6. My tactic is going to be to attract the type of talent who have the type of power of personality and process experience to be able to cultivate folks over and over again. Those are tactics. So a lot of times we confuse the tactic with the strategy.
Absolutely. And that's exactly why I asked that, because I think that those two words, they get thrown around as if they're exactly the same. And, you know, I know that for a fact that that's not true.
Exactly.
You know, so I really wanted you to dive into that and just talk about the differences so that people can tangibly understand a little bit different. And so I'm glad that you did that. And so, you know, going back to kind of like the journey, your journey, what even made you say that I want to work with nonprofits and provide this service?
Yeah, you know, it all started with Gucci money. Listen, y'all, don't judge me on this in your hearing, okay?
Okay.
So probably about 7 years ago, I was coming into fresh divorce. And I said, okay, I need to figure out a way to make some extra money. I was working a full-time job as a fundraiser, making decent money, and was needing a little extra. And I would go to conferences and networking things, and folks would meet me, and they'd be like, oh my gosh, Kishshana, I love you. You're so awesome. Can you come talk to my team about what you're doing with your team? It's amazing, right? So it started small. Folks would invite me to come talk to their team, to come talk with their board, to come train their board, and I would make Gucci money. That's what I called it. So that was like my, you know, pocket money, my daughter's private school money, her, you know, private lesson money, travel money, savings money. Probably about 4 years ago, I decided to step out full time into consulting, and I stepped into an interim job as one of my services that was amazing. And basically was, you know, I was making more money then than I did when I was working full time for an organization. So I thought it was easy, Isaiah. Okay, I thought it was easy. I thought it was easy.
Yeah, you got fooled, right?
You hear me? I had to whisper. I thought it was easy.
Right.
So then I jumped back into a full time role, and I think I was in that role probably 30 days. And I said, what the hell did I just do? This is dumb. I didn't even last in that role a year. And so because I had an experience, and I killed the game when I was there, by the way. So created a $3 million pipeline in 6 months, taught my brand new fundraising staff how to really go out there and get money and really work with donors and really figure out how to do communications well, you know, launched a new site. I mean, like, did craziness. So it wasn't like I didn't do anything, but I was drowning every day. And I was on the road 3 weeks a month, and I am a solo mama. That is not tenable as life.
Right.
And so I really had to think about how to make this work. And so I said, okay, I'm going to do this again. I did it before. I had great success, right? Right. It was easy. So it should be easy. Yeah, no. So I went back into fundraising consulting initially because I thought that's what I know how to do. I've been in external affairs, external relations, you know, fundraiser my whole career. That's what I know how to do. It has been the most challenging thing I have ever done to figure out, like, who do I want to be? Who is Kishshana & Co. going to be as a company? What is Kishshana & Co. going to be as a company when we grow up? And that has landed me here.
That's very interesting. That's very interesting. And so talk about the whole easy thing. I thought it was going to be easy. It wasn't, right? I thought it was going to be easy. It wasn't. A lot of times people think that this thing is easy, right? This thing of, I'm about to start this business. And the reason is because we have so much information nowadays, right? We could go on Facebook and go look at 80 people's lives. We can go on Instagram and look at 90 people's different lives. And we have all these different channels and platforms to look at somebody else and be like, yo, it's easy, right? So the 24-year-old thinks it's easy because the 38-year-old is showing their life. But they don't realize that that's 14 years of experiences and growth and pain, right?
Exactly.
So like from your perspective, what did you think was easy? Was it just because you saw success and you didn't have the stress of like providing on your own as a business owner because you had the job, or like what about it did you think was easy?
I thought it was going to be easy because it had come to me easily before, right? Like, but I had a safety net I didn't realize. So when I stepped out on my own full time a couple of years ago, I stepped right into a role that even though I got paid through my business, I'm still getting paid pretty much a salary.
Right.
So I wasn't billing my hours. Like I got paid on retainer. So, and I didn't look for any other clients. I didn't do anything else. Okay. Nothing. And so I thought, okay, great. I'm just going to step back out again. I'll get another interim gig. That's a part of what I offer. Then I'll be able to speak. People will know who I am. I have a deep network. It'll be great. Let me tell y'all the reality of the situation. The reality was, the people who I've been professional colleagues with, and I'd even go a step further and say friends with for the last 15 years, did not make an intro, period. The number of text messages I still have of folks who text me like, yo, I still owe you this intro. I still have you on this thing. I haven't forgotten you on the 9 emails that I was supposed to send out for you that I pre-wrote for them, Isaiah, okay? I pre-wrote them all.
So all they had to do was copy and paste.
Copy, paste, send, the end.
Right.
Yeah, it's a year. It's been a year. Thanks. But I'm good.
Right.
So that was hard. That was a very hard lesson for me to learn because I realized, like, although I had a very wide network, I didn't have a very deep network. And so one of the things that I didn't do well when I was working full time for other organizations was, when I said I was going to follow up with somebody, I did, right? Like, so I could tell you lots of people who, they had a baby, they got married, and this and that. But I wasn't just checking in with colleagues to see what they were working on, what moves they were really making, and also letting them know the amount of things I do. So what happened was that when I started working for myself a year and a half ago, people thought all I did was fundraising. It wasn't until I got into conversation that folks were like, oh, your strategic mind is crazy. Oh, you understand talent. You have systems. And 15 years worth, right? Like I've actually led 6 kick-ass, high-functioning, high-performing teams over my career. And I have all but 3 of them, of all the people I've managed, are still in nonprofit management. And the average number of years that people are in nonprofit work when they're on the fundraising side, 5 years. Okay? My folks stay.
Right.
And so I wasn't having those conversations when I was working for an organization full time so that folks knew when I stepped out on my own, oh yeah, I should keep Kishshana in mind for that project because she told me she did that last year. No one knew. So when I say it was hard, on the one hand, people who did know, not all, but quite a few, didn't make the connects that they said they were going to do. On the other hand, there were folks who could make the connections for me who had no idea that I did anything other than the one thing they knew me for. So I had to really make those things reconcile. And then I had to start charting a new course for myself. I was used to asking for money, Isaiah. I've been doing it my whole career. Do you know how hard it is to ask for stuff for yourself?
Very hard. Extremely hard.
Extremely hard. It's crazy. And as a fundraiser, you're taught to take your ego out of your work because it's not about you. You're not a superstar, meaning like, it's not like, oh, I got the gift. Yes, you did get the gift, but it's about the organization. So there's a humble brag that goes into your like natural work ethic that is very, very, very hard to shake when you're an entrepreneur and you have to go out and get it for yourself. and you have to self-promote, and you have to tell people you're awesome, and you have to remind people over and over again what you do, why you do it, why it's important, why they need it. Like, that is super, super duper hard to do when your whole career you've been taught to not do any of that.
Right.
Make it all about the other person.
Yeah, and that's a lot of stuff right there. That's actually a lot of stuff. So then you said that's why you thought it was easy. And so when you made the action to go do this thing full time, what would you say was the biggest thing that you learned in terms of like, what made you say, yo, this shit ain't easy? Like, you know what I mean? What made you sit at home, look in the mirror, sit on the couch and be like, man, this is not easy?
Listen, my first summer, that was last summer, June of 2016 to September of 2016, I put out $240,000 in proposals. And so you're talking to somebody who is used to raising on my own between $2 and $3 million a year. Not even just the money that my teams are responsible for, but the money I'm responsible for bringing in. So that means on average, if you're thinking about a proposal to close ratio 3-to-1, so that's about what we use in fundraising. Like, I'm used to putting out a good $3 million a year and getting back $1 million or more, right? Have a really high yes rate. So to put out that kind of money, I figured, all right, 240, that means, I'm probably going to get back about, 60, 70,000 easy in work. Zero. Between the proposals not returned, emails not returned, folks messing around, jerking me around, flat out no's. Like, I started smelling my underarms. Like, do I smell? Like, what's happening right now?
Like, why aren't you guys like saying yes? Why aren't you guys hitting me back?
Exactly. And so I really was ready to throw in the towel pretty early on, because I was like, look, there's so many fundraising jobs out here. I can go get another job tomorrow. Like, this is not a problem. Except the craziest thing happened to me, Isaiah. I literally, over the course from the time I left my last job till last month, had been in 11 searches. You're talking to someone who I haven't even had to apply for a job in the last 10 years. Like, recruiters call me humbly. I have really good relationships with recruiting firms. I've always been placed. So I've been in searches. So it's not like they call me and I start on Tuesday when they call me on Monday, but I've been in searches, but I really don't have to go out and look that much. Folks kind of, say, hey, Kishshana, I heard about you. Are you interested in this opportunity? So I was in those type of searches, 11 of them, and couldn't close a thing. And I said, wait a minute. But every month, rent's paid, bills are paid, this is getting done, that's getting done, this speaking engagement is happening, that's happening. So I said, okay, there's something to this. I really have to focus, because clearly going back to work for another organization is not my path, because I've never had that level of rejection in all my life.
Right.
So I have to leverage what I learned from that summer where I got all those no's to start getting some yeses.
And how did you turn them into yeses? Or what do you feel like the difference was between the point where you were getting all these yeses and raising the millions of dollars to the point where you were putting out, all these proposals and getting no's?
Yeah, I think I was resting on my laurels of my reputation in that space. I was a really good fundraiser. People know me as a really good fundraiser. I have a good reputation, and that can carry you, right? When you step into consulting, and particularly I stepped into nonprofit consulting, which is very, very white, and it's very, very white male and very old boys network, like lots of things are. And I was coming with a different sound, a different language, just different. There's a lot of difference happening. And so what I had to realize was, okay, you've got to first get people to listen, and you've got to get people to listen by understanding what it is people really want. Like, do you understand their pain points? And are you able to speak to how you're going to help them fix that pain? And if I can't do that well, then I'm not going to be able to start having the opportunity to get in front of the right folks to be able to have the right conversation. So that was the first thing. Do I understand who I'm talking to, and do I understand the pain that they're experiencing, and can I help them solve it? The second thing was, when I look back at who I was talking to that summer of no, I realized I was talking to a lot of people who could tell me no, but no one could really tell me yes. And so too many gatekeepers and not enough waymakers.
Right. So you were just contacting the wrong people.
Exactly. And I thought I was high up. When you're talking to the chief fill in the blank, that feels pretty high, right?
Right.
But in some cases, it wasn't the right person. And so I started to get really good at figuring out who is the right person I need to be talking to. If they're a gatekeeper, are they the right gatekeeper? And if they're a way maker, are they ready to make a way?
Like immediately, like that day or that week.
Exactly. And in my field, it doesn't happen that day. You know, most of our leads take, anywhere from a month to 3 months to actually close, because people want to feel like they have a relationship. They don't want to feel like it's transactional. They want to have, iterative conversation. And so I had to get good at figuring out how to step into that conversation, as opposed to getting so far in it and realize this is pure foolishness. What am I doing here? Wasting my time.
So how do you handle that, Kishshana? Because this is what I've learned. It's kind of the same for me in terms of, when we're doing these podcasts for people, it's not like I know I want these shoes. Like, let me go to Foot Locker and get these shoes. It's kind of more like, this is a brand play. And so it takes a while to get the pipeline full. And it takes a while because that cycle is not 1 or 2 days. It's a little bit longer. And so, what you're saying right now, it's kind of like what I've had to go through. And, how do you handle that in terms of like the frustration, like figuring it out? Because nobody told you, hey man, or hey Kishshana, you're not contacting the right people. Like, you know what I mean? Nobody told you that.
Told me that. No.
You had to figure that out. So like, talk about just the evolution and the process of even getting to the point where you knew now what was wrong and what was happening.
Yep. So first, a couple things happened for me. So first, I got really intentional about who I spent my time with. And by my time, I meant my personal time. So a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, my friend circle looked really different than it does now. Now, I love my friends, the ones who've been there for me from day one, the ones who have moved further out of that inner circle because their season has come to an end or is on pause or has rotated away. But I had to be really intentional about who I needed in my circle. And I really needed folks, not who were all entrepreneurs, right? But who had the mindset of growth, whether they were trying to get a baby, get married, buy a house, make a new move to another part of the country, start a business, really elevate in their company, whatever it was. Like, I needed folks around me that their mindset was really, really set on like bigness, because that's what I needed help with. Like, I could not do the day-to-day fear factor situation anymore because I was already out on the ledge. So that was the first thing. I really shifted. I was intentional about shifting my circle. And I feel really grateful for the men and women who I consider to be professional colleagues, work bays, friends who I continue to meet. I have not met a lot of people who have not had my best interest at heart. And when I have, I've been really, really clear about being like, thank you so much for your time, space, and energy, but I'm back away now. So that was the first thing, getting my own personal circle clear. The second thing was really deciding, we talk a lot about in business about this avatar. My avatars are different. I have like 4. So instead of that, I said, regardless of what person I work with, how do they make me feel? And so if you ever go to my website, to my FAQ, kishshanaco.com /FAQ, you'll see the things that I say. Like, we don't go together if, like, if you're not willing to hear some truth telling, this is not for you. If you want to crock pot this work, and I say that a lot, you want to crock pot this, you can't set it and forget it. So if you want to do that and just come back to me when it's done, I'm not for you. Right. And if you want Kool-Aid success, there's not going to be any mix and stir success at my party. So I'm not for you. Right. So I had to really get clear about who I am for and who I want to work with and who I'm not. And so in my intake and consultative conversations, and I offer 20 minutes to anybody as long as they feel like they have a clear sense of which one of my services they're thinking about, I get really clear in that conversation about what it is they think they want or need, and if I think I can help them. And if I feel like they're not in a position to do the work, and if I hear they're not in a position to pay for the work they need to do, I'm not your person, period. And I'm okay with that. Right. Because, and I say it in love, but I'm okay with that. Go ahead.
No, I was going because you're not trying to serve the whole world.
No.
You're trying to serve a select few Not even people per se, but companies or organizations.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it happens time and time again. And so it's taken me some time, and it's a work in progress, I think. I'm still refining my intake process. I'm always marveled at folks who are like, I closed in one call. I'm like, help.
Right.
Maybe it's not my style. It's not the nature of my work. But what I can do in a call is get really clear on what the person needs, regardless of what they called me for.
Right.
And then if I can help, if I can't help, period.
Right.
Like that I can do.
How do you feel about like when you have a call, and how are you able to tell if somebody's just trying to like suck you for information or not?
There's a pick your brain style of conversation that tends to happen when folks are just picking my brain. And so I'm pretty good pretty early on in saying, hey, it sounds to me like you are just so curious about the way I think about, these problems that you're presenting. Would you say that's fair? Well, I ask a yes or no question in that case. Yeah, I think that's fair. No, that's not fair. It's not open-ended on purpose. And if somebody says yes, I'm like, okay, great. Well, I have a service for that. Like, I actually have a pick your brain service. You can pay me about a minute, and people have used it, and it's been awesome. And ask me anything you want. Like, oh, you want to talk for 90 minutes about? Great, let's do it. Oh, therapy? Okay, here we are. I mean, like, I literally have no problem doing that if you pay me for it.
Right.
But what you're not going to do is you're not going to get me on the phone to ask me some questions about a business you want to start, a nonprofit you want to start, a problem you have, to get my top line thinking, and then be like, thank you so much for your time. Good luck. No, thanks.
Right. How much do you charge for the minute?
$3.33, believe it or not.
$3. What made you choose that?
It works out to like $175 an hour. I feel, is that math right? Yes, after they take their fee. I feel like something like that.
Okay.
And it's right on my website, like right on the front page. It's like, you're not ready for a full-on consultation, but you just want to pick my brain? Click here.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And that's a really good idea, actually. I've heard of a few people who do that, but I haven't heard of a lot of people at all who do that. But that right there, what you said, in terms of when you said, hey, I think that you're just curious, is that fair to say? I think that is probably a super amazing question to ask them, because what that does is that forces them to answer, and then that gives the conversation direction. As opposed to a lot of people, there is no direction, with these conversations, these sales calls, whatever you want to call them, because people come in thinking that they can just pick a brain and that's it, So moving forward with you, that's how you handle the people who are just coming on and you could tell they're trying to pick your brain. So how do you feel like a call should go? Like, do you feel like it should be just to pretty much get on the phone and take payment, or what?
No. And I know the people who do that, and I respect that. If your work can be transactional in that way, I totally am awesome. My work is not. I have tried it. It doesn't feel authentic to me, because that's not the way I raise money for years, right? And raising money is relational sales anyway. And so I just haven't been able to make the transition to doing that. But what I can do in a 20-minute, sales call, if you will, is decide if I move into proposal or not. So I can identify what the problem is. Do you have the budget? Are you a decision maker? When you came on this call, was it because you were curious or because you were ready? What does readiness look like for you? If I send you over a proposal today, can you sign it? Do you have a credit card? I can get through all those things in a very, very clear and finessed way. You don't feel slippery at the end of my calls. But I can get through all of that in 20 minutes because I can qualify a potential donor in 20 minutes. And so when I was raising money for a living, my prospecting conversations took 20 minutes. People were amazed. Like, how can you figure it out? Yeah, 20 minutes if they're going to be in or out. So I have not done I don't have a service yet where at the end of the call, they could just click the link. My course is probably as close as I will get to that. But for me, because a lot of the stuff I'm doing is ongoing training for your team for 6 months, doing a board training retreat for a weekend, coming in to do your staff training, which takes 2 days. I'm spending actually quite a bit of time with folks. I was coaching you for 8 weeks. I actually want to know and understand where your mind is at, and also what your experience has been either on other calls or with other people prior to talking to me. So that gives me a better sense of, am I actually best suited to help you? And I'm sure, Isaiah, I have to get to a point where I have some things people could just say, click and go. Here you go. Press click. Just click it. Do it. But I'm just not there yet. And I'm tired of beating myself up about it. And so part of the work I will do going into 2018 is figure out, is there a service or an opportunity for folks who just want to click it and go? Because there are lots of folks like that, and that I have something for them. But for my people, for the most part, they need more than one conversation.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that that's extremely important, is knowing who you're serving. Because if you know who you're serving, and you know, because somebody else may say, I have this training on how to close deals or sales and, one phone call. But a lot of times when you're doing things on a bigger level, like yourself, when we're talking about, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 packages and, products, who's really going to just be like, yo, let me give you my card. I just met you. I want to spend $4,000 with you today.
And there are people who do that. And, when I get to that point, Isaiah, where you say Kishshana Palmer and folks are like, oh, you better hire her. Right. Then hallelujah for that, right?
Right.
But the work I do right now, when I do a board retreat for a day, a half-day board retreat with me is $3,500 to $4,500 because my work is custom and your board leaves kicking ass and taking names. Mm-hmm. And I do a pre-board retreat session with your executive team, and I do a post-retreat follow-up and report just for you on next steps. So I'm not just walking in and just talking off the top of my head. I'm talking about 5.5 hours of slides, of exercises, of getting up and, experiential learning that you have to do. Mm-hmm. So I'm not the most expensive of the bunch, but I'm not cheap either.
Right.
People aren't necessarily going to drop that money on a first call. It takes a call or two.
Right. Especially if we're talking about an organization, because
True.
They have checks and balances.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one of the biggest things that I learned as well. Like, for example, if you're, let's say somebody's prospecting on LinkedIn, that's a completely different type of demographic. You can close, sales for $10,000, $12,000, $15,000, but you may need to be prepared to work, maybe for a couple months before that happens, especially if you're trying to go to a company or organization, because there are gatekeepers, there are processes, there are checks and balances. They have quarterly, reports and focuses each quarter, and it may not match up this quarter, but next quarter, yes, right? All these different things. And so
exactly.
It's just so important to know who are you going after, because that's going to help you determine your sales cycle, how you should set up things and all that stuff.
Exactly. And even for like the entrepreneurs that I work with. So I work with a food company right now that's starting their own 501c3 foundation, and their foundation is both going to give money away and raise money. So it took me, and that's a big gig. And it took me, a hearty recommendation from somebody that particular CEO of that company really trusts, plus 3 conversations and a proposal. When we were at the 11th hour, he was like, yeah, maybe we should just do this one piece first and see how it goes and then do the other pieces.
Right.
So I got the first part of the business, but I still have to show and prove in order to be able to get the longer term business, which I'm sure I will, because it's going swimmingly well at this moment. And we're almost done with that first part. But like that took a lot to make that move, right. And he had the means to do it. So I just think that it just really depends on what it is you're getting into, and just to be really clear about how long it takes for folks to move through your process, and making sure that you have, if you don't have a product-based business like a tangible T-shirt, a cup, a candle, or whatever, that you actually have high touch when you're working with people. Well, for me, that's super important.
Exactly. High touch. And can you explain that for the people who may have not caught that or don't understand it?
Sure, absolutely. So high touch for me looks like when you contact me, even when you contact me through my let's chat at kishshanaco.com, my automatic responder is actually quite detailed. Now, you may not read all of it, y'all, but it has like, here are the free things you can do. Here's where I hang out in life. And here's how you can contact me. And here's how long it takes me to get back with you. When you book a time with me, you get a reminder. You get how you're going to talk to me. After our call, within 24 hours, you get a thank you for that conversation. Here's what we talked about, and here's a link to follow up if you have any more questions, etc. Here's the next thing. When you are thinking about it, you get a ping from me that's actually highly personal that says, hey, here's what we talked about a few weeks ago. Do you have any questions? Here are some things that people have thought about, and here is a recommendation for somebody who has taken the leap before you. And then when you decide to book, it's like party time. I send all of my clients a welcome package in the mail. Every single one. And it's like all the Kishshana razzle dazzle. Does it cost me money? Yes, it does. Do I care? No, I do not.
Right.
Because I want them to know that when you work with Kishshana & Co., this is an experience. Whether there's going to be just me or whether I have a company of 10 individuals, you will always have that high-touch experience. And when we close out a project, you get a project closeout document that's well-styled. I have a fabulous creative catalyst on my team who makes sure that everything I think in my brain comes to life. And you get a finalized document that says, here's what we did, here's why we did it, here's what we learned, and here is what's next.
And that makes them want to work with you for the next step.
Exactly.
Right. Because they know what they're getting and they know what's next and all that stuff. I like that a lot. I like that to finish out. So the person who does your creatives and all these packages, is that like do you pay them on a one-time basis for each one, or are they on a retainer or what?
So Rochelle, Rose Red, etc., is my creative genius, and I pay her on retainer. Mm-hmm. I have found, to your point, I think at the beginning of our time together, that you just got to have the professionals that do the things, right? Like you cannot, like this do-it-yourself stuff to me feels foolish. My dad used to say you can be penny wise and pound foolish, or pound foolish. And what that means is, you can spend 20 hours trying to do it yourself, or you can pay somebody and use that 20 hours to make more money, period. And so I have her on retainer, and she and I talk through each quarter. What are my big objectives? What are the big rocks that I want to move? What are some things that'll really move the needle? And have we already created something that's like not quite done that can serve that purpose, or that is done that can be repurposed in order to be able to achieve that goal? And then we look out a year and go, okay, what do we look like? What's on the horizon? So she keeps me honest creatively. And it's been better. Life has been better for me since I've just put that as a part of my budget and worked it out. And because of the type of work I do, I told you, Isaiah, that, clients typically come to me for one problem, but then we end up figuring out 3 others. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes their look and feel is a part of the challenge. Like, Lord help them.
Right.
And so I have done the work of really vetting creatives across all different types of disciplines that really bring their whole selves to their work and are professionals and deliver quality, that I'm able to connect them with. And so I'm able to do that for my folks as well.
Got you. Dang, Kishshana, it's a whole bunch. Like, you're very, very, very thorough.
Thank you. I try.
I love it. I love it a lot. I love it so much. So how can people find you and contact you and all that good stuff?
Well, as you figured out with my double SH at the beginning.
Yeah.
So if you want to reach out to me, there are a couple of ways. On social, I am at FundDiva, FUNDDIVA. If you want to email me, you can hit me on Let's Chat at Kishshana, KISHSHANACO.com. So that's Let's Chat at KishshanaCo.com. And my website is www.fabulouslyfundraising.com.
Fabulouslyfundraising.com.
Mm-hmm.
Got you. Well, Kishshana, it's been a pleasure, and I've learned a lot, an extreme amount, and also I know for you as well, you have a lot to offer and a lot of wisdom, as well. So everybody listen, I hope you really got a lot from that. I really do, and I know that it's going to help a lot of people out, whether it be now or later.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing time and space with me today. This was awesome.
My pleasure, and the same goes for you as well. So with that being said, everybody, that's going to be today's show and today's episode, and we're going to talk to you on the flip side.
Thanks for listening to the Starts With a Vision podcast. Come get your vision clear at www.startswithavision.com. See you there.